Copa America, Galacticos. You know, after the first phase, we're kind of excited to see what's going to happen in the quarterfinals. We're going to analyze a little bit of what happened in each group and who went through. Just to say that a lot of our friends told us, you know nothing about South American football. You should, you know, inform yourselves better.
He's the South American king. He's South American.
But in the end, we said that obviously that 8 teams would go through, and we got 6 right. And the 2 teams that we didn't get right were Brazil and Uruguay. I think Uruguay was a big, upset, a big disappointment for everybody. And Brazil, I think, to be honest, we didn't have the balls to say that Brazil was not going to go through because, you know, they're pretty lame as a team. But still, you know, 6 out of 8 is not that bad. So Galacticos, you know, we're expecting your apologies. No, not really. But anyway, let's see what happened in each group.
Each group. Group A, passing on my country and moving on my country. USA and Colombia, obviously. These are the groups these are teams that we said would move on.
Yeah.
And the US, I mean, were you surprised by the way they played? Did you like the way they played?
I really did. I think, you know, they were kind of maybe nervous for the debut in the game against Colombia. I thought that was going to be the game who defined who was going to be first and second.
Right.
It wasn't in the end because Colombia won, but the United States went through as first because of what they did against Costa Rica, 4-0. You know, some people were expecting more from Paraguay or Costa Rica, but I think, you know, the 2 best teams went through. And in the end, you know, maybe Colombia giving away that first spot by, you know, being too confident with Costa Rica, playing with too many subs and losing that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a little bit silly on Colombia's part and a little bit arrogant on their part as well. I mean, to have 10 different players coming in and playing this game, mostly substitutes, it's sort of an insult to the team that you're playing against.
Which I thought was weird because, I mean, like, they had you know, they knew they were going to go through, but the first spot was not secured. So I thought it was a little bit silly, but still, USA and Colombia in Group A. Group
B, moving on from Group B, is Peru, and Ecuador. And obviously, this is not, we thought, we predicted that Brazil would move on from this group, but they showed us that, like you said, this year is a sort of a lame national team. It's not what we expected. And we know that they didn't bring all their players, that they were betting more on the Summer Olympics, but still, even with the players that they had, I think that they had a number of international stars, and I think that they could have given a better effort.
The fact that they couldn't, you know, score a goal against Peru and Ecuador, you know, the both of us, Peru and Ecuador, ended up going through. I think the best game in the group was maybe the Peru against Ecuador. You know, we were winning. At the end, we kind of let it go away. But, you know, it's a nice group. You know, Brazil disappointing. In the end, well, Haiti couldn't do much against any other teams. They lost 4-0 against Ecuador, 7-1 against Brazil. We suffered, but we could win it in the end. But yeah, you know, bye-bye Brazil, and we're going to see Peru and Ecuador in the quarterfinals.
Which I think is sort of a nice change for other teams in this tournament, that Brazil doesn't just pass through like...
Especially with nothing, as they have now, just because they're Brazil. So, you know, it wasn't enough for them this time. And, you know, I'm very sad for you, my Brazilian friends, but I'm very happy to be Peruvian and be in the quarterfinals. And then Group C?
Group C, we've got Mexico, and Venezuela. Moving on.
In this group, we have to say, to apologize to our Mexican friends. It was kind of under our radar, the Mexican national team, who ended up proving that, you know, they're a strong candidate.
Right.
And definitely the upset in this group was Uruguay. I don't think nobody expected Uruguay to be knocked out in the first phase.
No, I certainly didn't expect Uruguay to be knocked out. We thought Uruguay was going to go on to the next round. I mean, they've got wonderful players. Luis Suarez. I personally really like Godin.
And Cavani. I mean, they have...
Jimenez.
But in the end, you know, we bet on Venezuela, and Venezuela did great. They were 20 minutes away from winning the group in that last game against Mexico. They tied 1-1. And, you know, they were second just because of goal difference. So I think it's fair. So we're going to see Mexico and Venezuela in the quarterfinals. And in the last group, in Group D.
In the last group, in Group D, the obvious, for me at least, they were the obvious winners of this group, Argentina and Chile.
Yeah, I think together with Group A, maybe the group with the least surprises. Even this one, even more, because I don't think nobody expected Panama and Bolivia to go through. And the group was defined in the first game when Argentina beat Chile, and then both of them, you know, won their respective games. There was a little bit of controversy in the Chile-Bolivia with this game went on to the 100th minute. There was a penalty for Chile in the 99th. Super extra time or super injury time. But, you know, in the end, Chile is a stronger side than Bolivia, and they should be in the quarterfinals. So that's what happened in the groups. You know, those were the 8 teams that went through. So the quarterfinals are as follows. We're going to have the first game, USA-Ecuador.
USA.
What do you think?
I'm going to go with my team. I think that we've got some really strong players. I really am loving Clint Dempsey in this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's really proving to be the #1 player for our country and, you know, maybe even a world. Well, he's getting there up in the age, but I think that he's still up there with one of the better players in the world, especially coming out of the United States. He's getting it done. He's getting involved. I mean, majority of the goals he was involved in. If he wasn't scoring them, he was giving that pass. He was creating, moving. So he's a great player. And so I think Clint Dempsey is going to take us through to the semifinals. I've
been liking what Ecuador is doing. I like Ener Valencia has been doing great, and Novoa. They're great players, but I think, maybe the home team factor and the excitement that the United States have to be, in the semifinal. Right. So we're going to go with the United States.
USA. And I think this also that we sort of really need to prove ourselves on the world stage.
Yeah.
So I think that we've got a lot on the line, especially I feel like as Americans with Jurgen Klinsmann, people are very critical of him, and I think it's important for us to move on as far as we can go in this tournament.
Exactly. So, the United States, and then, the other match that's going to define who plays the United States if they do go through will be the Argentina-Venezuela.
Argentina-Venezuela.
I think, it could be an upset, it could be a surprise if Venezuela play the game of their life, but I think there's no doubt that Argentina will be playing semifinals.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Argentina's got star quality. They've got one of the best player in the world, Messi. And I think Messi
Banega is doing a good job. Also Di Maria, they have Higuaín, Agüero. I mean
they've got a team loaded with players. They've got experience. This is a team, I personally like the way that Argentina plays together, that cohesiveness, that chemistry that they have in a team that we see, that especially, we'll talk about Euro Cup later, but Euro Cup and Copa America, it's not necessarily a question of best individuals, but teams that play best together. And I think Argentina has that chemistry, and I don't see them losing against Venezuela. I think Messi's hungry for titles or a title.
It's the hunger, not only Messi, but I think all this generation of players are really hungry, and I don't think, this Venezuela game is going to be the upset for Argentina. So, in that hypothetical scenario, it would be the United States against Argentina in the semifinals. Well, we'll see after. Then the other match will be Peru-Colombia.
Peru-Colombia.
In which me and the producer have a lot of, emotions invested. I think Peru is doing great. Peru's been showing that, they can perform in the Copa America. They have a young team. One of the good things I like that Gareca, as our head coach, has done is kind of got rid of some of the old players that are kind of stars but had never really given anything to the national team. So, but, I see Colombia better equipped as a team, have more talent. As you were saying, I think they play more cohesively. I think they're a better team. I would like to say Peru, but I'm going to say Colombia. I'm
going to also agree with you on Colombia. I think, and I don't know why this gives me the sensation that Colombia will perform better in a knockout phase.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's also they have the hunger. They could have beat Brazil in the 2014 World Cup. They didn't do that well in last year's Copa America. I think this is their chance, and I think they're gonna beat us. It's gonna hurt me, but I think it's gonna happen. And the last game will be Mexico against Chile.
Ooh, and this is gonna be a really good match.
Yeah.
This is gonna, like V was saying, we underestimated a little bit Mexico, but like what we were just saying is that cohesiveness as a team, that team mentality, Mexico's got it. And they've got great players, and they've got skilled and great strikers, and I don't know, but I'm also sort of torn because Chile also has wonderful players. No, you don't like.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings, most on the emotional side with Chile. They do have great players. Vidal is playing great.
Vidal is having a great tournament.
And Alexis Sanchez. They have Claudio Bravo on goal. But I don't know. I'm gonna go with Mexico.
You're gonna go with Mexico. I really don't know because I do like.
Go with Mexico. Come on. Mexico.
I do like the Mexican national team, and I love Chicharito. I don't know. He puts a smile on my face. I love the way he plays, even though he scores funny goals like with his face.
So Mexico or Chile?
I have this feeling that Chile is gonna move on.
All right, so we would have, hypothetically, we'll have United States and Argentina, and one semifinal, and the other one would be Colombia and maybe Mexico or Chile.
We don't know.
Of course, after this whole, set of games, we'll let you know what happened, and we'll give you our predictions for the semifinals. Hope you enjoyed it, Galacticos. Let us know if you agree with us or not, and like and subscribe.
And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who disagree with us.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what life is about, agreeing and disagreeing. And well, don't disagree to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.